Hello everyone, this is David, and tonight's movie that we watched is Godzilla vs. Megalon. So here we go, and this is the last of what I consider the really bad Godzilla movies. This one's not too terrible. I mean, it's about on par with Godzilla vs. Gigan, and I consider those two movies to be sister movies. They're not by any means good, but they're at least what you would expect a Godzilla movie to be. And honestly, Godzilla vs. Gigan and Godzilla vs. Megalon did a lot, at least in America, to make Godzilla less of a significant character and more of kind of like a joke. Oh, it's a thing for kids. And that's it. So, it's an unfortunate thing, but I can largely see what they're talking about. It's very easy to understand that. Once we get into the movie, you'll see that this is a much more silly movie. It feels, I mean, honestly, having watched this, it's more like a wrestling match, if anything else. But I'll get into in-depth or more depthful analysis when we get to that part. So we got some new creatures to talk about in this one. One's a creature and one's a robot, actually. So the two of the main characters, actually, Megalon and Jet Jaguar. Now, you may not realize this because the title is Godzilla vs. Megalon, but it really was supposed to be Jet Jaguar versus Megalon as its own sort of spin-off. But they threw Godzilla in because they didn't think this film had the power to stand on its own. And for that, they're probably right. So let's talk about, we'll start with Megalon, move on to Jet Jaguar. So what is Megalon? Well, Megalon is a large beetle that comes from underground somewhere. He's sent up to the surface by the Cetopians, and we'll get into them when we talk about the plot. Not aliens this time, although there are aliens that help out. It's very convoluted. But Megalon is a giant bug monster that can burrow through the ground, so that's power. He can fly. That's pretty good. He has a laser horn. All right. And he can throw bombs out of his mouth. Or spit bombs, I guess. So that's a lot of powers. In addition to having drill hands that he uses to dig, he can also, hit you with drill hands. And, well, I'm not certain the difference between being hit with drill hand and being hit with regular hand, how that sums up in kaiju terms, but I'm willing to bet it's not good. So Megalon's one of the stranger guys in this plethora of things because he has like this myriad of abilities and he uses them all the time. It's not like Gigan who only like used his laser eye once or anything. No, he pretty much uses them all the time. So that's an interesting. He's a very interesting foe. And who's the enemy? Or the enemy. Who's the other guy? It's Jet Jaguar. So what is Jet Jaguar? Well, he's basically a robot, for lack of a better term. He's a robot. And Jet Jaguar doesn't have any lasers or cool stuff like that just yet. However, he can fly, and he can change his shape. And he's a pretty decent fighter, all things considered. He's he's a humanoid robot, so he can move pretty well. He's pretty adept at fighting, although he does get his ass kicked for a while. Now, that's all said and done. Let's talk about this movie for a while. So, it starts off with these like nuclear tests going off, which you're like, okay, that's become kind of a staple in Godzilla movies. Talk about that all the time, and that cuts to these weird people that are European or something akin to that. Some white-skinned people, and I hate to say that, but it's kind of, I'm not good at telling ethnicities ever unless they're really obvious via skin tone. So I don't know. They were some form of white people. I'm guessing whatever they wanted to get. Toho is pretty bad at getting ethnicities right anyway, so even if I figured it out, it probably wouldn't even be right. But anyway, so they're these basically these for lack of a better term. So there's these Europeans that living underground under where Japan or in the Pacific is, and they're called Cetopians, and they're part of a collapsed civilization from millions of years ago. They're basically like Atlantis or Lemuria or Mu or any of those other lost civilizations out there. So they live underground. They worship a giant bug called Megalon, and all these atomic tests are fucking up their kingdom. So they're like, well, we're gonna go send our god Megalon to go fuck them up, and they do. And they also have agents on the surface of the on the surface that they refer to, like the in the dub they refer to them as, I believe, European looking, but whatever, it's what it is. So meanwhile, so these bombs are going off, and he cuts to Monster Island, and there's like a big dust storm, and this is all stock footage from Destroy All Monsters, which is unfortunate, but it's what we got. So some stock footage shows up, and then they're like, oh, Godzilla vs. Megalon. So it cuts to these three guys, this inventor, his nephew, who's like a little kid, and their friend, Hiroshi, who they're all having this outing at this lake. And then the kid is riding on like this really elaborate, like, I don't even really know what to call it, because it's not a float, and it's not a boat, but he's riding on this thing, and it's kind of hard to describe, but I'll do my best, which consists of a large dolphin and two smaller dolphins which act like paddles. Now you might think, well, that sounds like a boat, but it's not a boat because you don't sit in it, you ride on it, kind of like you'd ride on like an actual dolphin or like a horse or something, and it kind of just goes. It's really weird. I mean, it's kind of a cool idea, but weird. And then something happens, and the lake cracks open, and all the water drains out, and the kid gets off in time, and the boat gets, for lack of a better term, boat gets sucked into this chasm that opens up. And they are like, oh crap, that's really weird. And they go back to their house, and they get like ambushed by these guys because the inventor, I believe his name's Goro, is building a robot, and he has like unique, like cutting edge control technology. And the Cetopians steal him and use him to do a bunch of dirty work, while meanwhile they're going to throw the kid and I forget which one it was, one of the two adults, into like this abyss, or not the abyss, but like the hole that opened up. Meanwhile, Megalon comes out, and they use Jet Jaguar to basically guide Megalon to do stuff, and they have him destroy a bunch of things. He destroys a dam and whatnot. So, I mean, Megalon's pretty good at destroying stuff, and then the army rolls out trying to stop him, and that's pretty bad. And then the inventor and the kid and the friend Hiroshi all meet back up, and they manage to steal control of Jet Jaguar back from the Cetopians, and they send him to go get Godzilla. And he goes and gets Godzilla on Monster Island and communicates to him via sign language. Apparently Godzilla can't talk anymore. And Godzilla's like, no problem, buddy, I'm on my way, but I gotta swim there, so that's gonna take a bit. And I'll be there when I can get there. So Godzilla's on his way. Jet Jaguar goes back. Meanwhile, I'll get to him in a minute. Meanwhile, Megalon's going nuts. Because Jet Jaguar got broken free, Megalon's just doing whatever the fuck he wants. He's just kind of jumping around, smashing things, blowing stuff up. So the military comes out, and it's all cuts from other movies. It's all stock footage, and they blast the crap out of him. Doesn't do anything. Never does anything. I mean, it's a tradition, but still, it doesn't do anything to him. He doesn't care. He just kills all the tanks. Kills everything. And Jet Jaguar shows up. Oh, meanwhile, every once in a while, the Cetopians check in. And basically, the Cetopians contact the Space Hunter Nebula guys from the previous movie. And they're like, hey, they're going to get Godzilla. So could we get Gigan to come in here and help us out? So apparently, the Space Hunter Nebula M guys are just like, no problem, go get him. They send over Gigan. And so Jet Jaguar begins to engage Megalon, and the fight's going back and forth. It's surprisingly even for a little bit, and then Gigan shows up, and it's a 2v1. And this is where it devolves very much into what I consider basically like a wrestling match, and it feels like a wrestling match. Which, if you've ever watched any like main events at a pay-per-view event, or even on like normal, like just weeknights, like the big event, this is very much starts off as a standard match. It's one-on-one. Granted, I mean, we're dealing with kaiju here with weird powers, but in the same thing, the same holds true. There's a lot of different like moves that are being used back and forth. It's not the simple like, oh, it's two things flailing at each other. The fighting's actually, all things said and done, pretty good for a Godzilla movie. I mean, I understand there's like severe limitations on what they can do because they're wearing these big, bulky suits that are made out of plastic and foam and who knows what else. I've never actually been able to interact with or see an actual kaiju suit from that era, so I don't know what they're actually made of, but I've seen a lot of costuming design theory. I've got a lot of friends that get into that stuff, so I know that, you know, when you're wearing a full body costume and it's like, you know, basically foam, it doesn't seem heavy, but it's heavy in a really awkward way. So it's good to see that they're able to trim it down and do some more athletic things. There's some wire fu going on. But anyway, getting back to the story. So it very much feels like a one-on-one fight. And Jet Jaguar's starting to win, and then Gigan shows up, and it becomes a handicap match. And basically, when Gigan shows up, he talks monster talk. They never speak in English or anything. There's not subtitled and there's no translation, but you can tell from their movements that like Gigan's like, yeah, here to help you, buddy, and Megalon's like, right on, let's fuck this guy up. And they proceed into fighting Jet Jaguar, and they kick the crap out of him, and he's just on the ground, and they're like just punting him. But then Godzilla shows up to this very funny music. It's not the traditional Godzilla music, and I don't remember even hearing the traditional like Godzilla music in this movie. It might have been in there, but they might have snuck it in. But I don't remember hearing it, which is unfortunate, because that stuff's classic. But, again, Godzilla's not even smashing cities in this one. It's all Megalon. Even Gigan's not smashing cities. He just shows up for this big fight in what accounts to be what we'll call DBZ space. And if you're not familiar with what DBZ space is, in Dragon Ball Z, anytime they want to do a fight to not endanger innocents, they fly off into this infinite wilderness of like pillars of rock and trees, which is DBZ space, because it goes on indefinitely and there's no civilization to be found anywhere in it. So that's why I call it DBZ space, and that's basically what they're in here. There's no military, there's no buildings, there's nothing. It's just this open field where they can fight. Okay, well, fair enough. Godzilla shows up as kind of the babyface to help out his buddy, Jet Jaguar. And they're fighting, and it's a good fight, back and forth. There's one interesting part where Megalon just goes nuts, and he just laser horns everything, and like basically like puts them into a circle of fire, and then starts blowing the place up, which was pretty cool. But they eventually defeat them. Like, Godzilla and Jet Jaguar kick the crap out of them. They beat up Gigan. Gigan runs off, leaving it just to be Megalon. And Megalon gets the crap kicked out of him, and Godzilla does his finishing move, his new finishing move in this movie, where he backs up, he runs forward, and does this leaping, flying kick. You've probably seen it if you've seen anything to do with monsters ever. It's this crazy leaping flying kick where he's just like, it's clearly wire fu, and like halfway through the kick, he's just vertically coming at him. And there's an instant, they basically do it twice, and then Megalon's defeated, and they throw him in a pit. And then the Seatopians close the entrance to their undersea or underwater, under planet world. And that is the movie. Godzilla goes off, he goes home, goes back to his house, and Kid waves him goodbye. Jet Jaguar shrinks down to normal size because he grew to huge size in to fight Megalon, because he was just a normal human-sized robot. Now he's a huge robot because he can just do that. Because he's basically Ultraman. He's an Ultraman ripoff for all intents and purposes. And he goes back basically to hang out with the people who created him, although I believe they imply that he's evolved beyond their ability to really control, or at least he did when like halfway through the movie, but now he can be controlled again. It's really kind of weird. Very, very like Spirit of the Machine kind of thing, where it broke loose because it had to, but now that it doesn't have to do that anymore, it's under control. It's very poorly explained, honestly. Suffice to say, Joe Jaguar just does what he feels like when he feels like doing it. He don't give no fucks. So that's Godzilla vs. Megalon. In terms of a good Godzilla movie, it's not really that good of a Godzilla movie. Godzilla's only in the end of it, pretty much. You have to get through this whole movie. And granted, the final fight's pretty good, but this movie shouldn't bear the name Godzilla because he's a secondary character. It's really about Megalon versus Joe Jaguar. So, I mean, it is Godzilla, it is official canon, but I hazard to call it a Godzilla movie. It's not terrible, but I don't really recommend this. You can watch the MST3K version of it, which I think would be infinitely better. So you should check that out. Don't check out the basic one. It's just a very run-of-the-mill movie, like a run-of-the-mill kaiju film. And Godzilla's really not in it, even though he's top billing. So I don't even know what's going on there. Anyway, so that's all I have to say on this subject. Other than that, we'll see you all again when things take a turn for the better in Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster. Or was it Godzilla versus the Bionic Monster? Or was it Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla? Let you guys decide. In the end, Godzilla is fighting Robot Godzilla. It's come down to this. The mecha characters. Alright, folks. Good night.